In this lesson, we're going to learn how to factor by grouping. Now, why would we ever need to factor by grouping? We do so whenever we have a polynomial and we just cannot take a greatest common factor out of each term within that polynomial. So look at x cubed plus 5x squared minus 2x minus 10, right? There isn't a number that these terms can all be divided by. But if we were to group two at a time, would that be acceptable to take the GCF of two of them at a time? Yes, yes, absolutely. That is the method of factoring by grouping. So let's take a look at the first group, x cubed plus 5x squared. What do they have in common? What can you divide them both by? Well, it looks like we can take two x's out of them, so we can divide both of them by x squared. So x squared would be your GCF. So make it parentheses. And we're going to go ahead and divide by x squared. So x cubed divided by x squared will give you an x. Plus, keep the sign going. We have 5x squared divided by x squared. We're just left with a 5. So let's look at the other group that we just made. What does negative 2x and negative 10 have in common? We can divide them both by 2. And if you recall from before, we really prefer our variables to not be negative. So we're going to make that GCF negative. And we already determined that we can divide them both by 2. So we're going to divide both of them by negative 2. And what do we have left over? We have an x, because negative 2x divided by negative 2 is positive x. And then we're going to do negative 10 divided by the negative 2 we took out to give you a positive 5. Now take a look at these. They're both exactly alike, right? X plus 5, x plus 5. So guess what? We can factor that out. So you're going to get x plus 5. And if you recall, I like to, once we take the GCF, I like to just cross both of them out just so I can see what we're working with. And you can see we have an x squared left over, and we have the minus 2. And that's it for the first example. Easy peasy, right? For the second example, we have x cubed minus x squared plus 2x minus 2. So same routine. Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and group two at a time. So what does x cubed minus x squared have in common? We can take out an x squared. Let's make an open parentheses. And what do we have left over? We have x, right? Because x cubed divided by x squared, you take off 2 of the x's, you're left with x to the first power, which is just x. Keep the sign going, minus x squared divided by x squared. Any number divided by itself is going to give you a 1, right? 3 divided by 3 is 1. X squared divided by x squared is 1. 1 million divided by 1 million is 1. And we're going to do the same thing with the second half of the polynomial. So we have 2x minus 2. What's common? We can divide them both by 2. So 2 is your GCF. And 2x divided by 2 will give you an x. Negative 2 divided by 2 would give you a minus 1. And take a look at this. Whenever you're instructed to do the factor by grouping method, have you noticed that these parentheses have been the same? So you can spoil your own fun and say, hey, I know these two parentheses got to be the same if I'm factoring by grouping. If they're not exactly the same, signs and all, variables, numbers, everything, if they're not exactly the same, then you know you've done something wrong. But anyway, we're right so far, right? So let's go ahead and factor out the x minus 1 because that's what they both have in common. And I like to just cross off so I can see visually what we have left over. And we have x squared and then plus 2. Okay, so lastly, let's go ahead and do 3x cubed minus 2x squared minus 6x plus 4. And what do they have in common? Well, the 3 and the 2, there's nothing you can do with that. What about the x's? Yes, once again, we can take out 2 of those x's, so that's x squared. We could take out x squared from both. And what do we have left over? We're going to have a 3 and an x. We basically did 3x to the third power divided by x squared. You take off 2 of the x's, you're just left with 1x. Minus, keep the sign going. We have 2x squared divided by x squared. The x squares cancel, you're just left with 2. Close up the parentheses. And now remember, we have our x term here is negative, and we don't want to have a negative variable. So we're going to make our GCF negative. Just a very quick fix. And what is our GCF? We can divide 6x and 4 by a 2. Let's go ahead and make an open parentheses. So what is negative x? I'm sorry, negative 6x divided by negative 2? We get a positive 3x. Wink, wink, just like this, right? As usual. And just go ahead and put your negative 2. We know that gives you negative 2. And we're almost done, so you know the routine. Let's go ahead and factor out the 3x minus 2. And let's cross them out. What do we have left over? We have x squared minus 2. And we are finished. So factoring by grouping, uh, it may look a little hideous at first. Maybe that's not the right word. It may look challenging, right? But it can be done. Just break them up into twos. Just group 2 at a time. Find your GCF. If you come across a negative variable, make sure that your GCF is negative, and you should be good. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please like and subscribe.